In the early years of World War II, Germany's Enigma machine was considered unbreakable. Its complex system of encryption made it nearly impossible to intercept and decode German military communications. However, the British codebreakers at Bletchley Park, led by figures like Alan Turing, cracked the Enigma code and unlocked the ability to read German transmissions. This breakthrough gave the Allies a significant advantage in the war, allowing them to anticipate German movements and ultimately shorten the war. While the Enigma code was a crucial intelligence victory, it was not just a triumph of technology, but also of human ingenuity and perseverance. The codebreakers worked tirelessly, often under immense pressure, to crack the seemingly unbreakable codes. The handling of the information it provided raises questions about the ethical and strategic decisions made during the war. How this intelligence was used and sometimes not used had far-reaching consequences. The United Kingdom and the United States were allies with the Soviet Union, but there were growing tensions between the Western powers and the Soviets, particularly as the war began to wind down. These tensions were rooted in differing ideologies and visions for the post-war world. Conspiracy theories suggest that while the Allies had access to critical intelligence, they were careful about what they shared with the Soviets. This selective sharing of information was not just about winning the war, but also about shaping the geopolitical landscape of the future. Some argue that the Allies selectively withheld information to ensure that Soviet influence wouldn't grow too strong, especially in Eastern Europe as the war was nearing its end. This strategic withholding of intelligence was a calculated move to limit Soviet expansion and maintain a balance of power in the post-war era. The decisions made during this time had lasting impacts on international relations and set the stage for the Cold War that followed. According to some theories, the Allies didn't just use their intelligence advantage to defeat Germany. They used it to manipulate the course of the war. By withholding information from the Soviets, they could control the flow of crucial data. This manipulation ensured that certain strategic operations, like the Allied invasion of Normandy, were successful. The meticulous planning and execution of D-Day were pivotal moments in the war. However, by keeping the Soviets in the dark about some plans, the West may have been preventing them from gaining too much of an upper hand in Europe. This selective sharing of intelligence was a calculated move. There are reports that critical intelligence was shared only when it served the interests of the Western powers. This strategy was not just about winning the war, but also about shaping the post-war political landscape. The Allies aimed to ensure that the balance of power in Europe would favor the Western democracies, setting the stage for the Cold War. The decisions made in those war rooms had long-lasting impacts, influencing international relations for decades to come. After the war, as tensions between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union escalated, the world found itself on the brink of a new kind of conflict. The ideological divide between capitalism and communism began to shape global politics in unprecedented ways. The narrative surrounding wartime intelligence became even more significant. Intelligence operations that had once focused on defeating the Axis powers now turned their attention to the emerging Soviet threat. The work of codebreakers and spies during WWII laid the groundwork for the intelligence battles of the Cold War. With the rise of the Cold War, some scholars argue that the Allies had already begun to see the Soviet Union as a threat even before the war ended. The wartime alliance was one of convenience, not trust. As the Soviet Union expanded its influence, the Western Allies grew increasingly wary. They sought to limit Soviet power in Europe, a sentiment famously echoed in Churchill's Iron Curtain speech. The Yalta Conference, which had once symbolized Allied unity, now represented the beginning of a divided Europe. This selective sharing of information during the war might have been an early strategy to contain Soviet influence in the post-war world. Intelligence briefings and secretive meetings became the norm as both sides tried to outmaneuver each other. Especially in regions like Eastern Europe, where Soviet dominance was beginning to take hold. The occupation of Eastern European cities by Soviet soldiers marked the start of a new era of geopolitical tension, one that would define the latter half of the 20th century. Bletchley Park itself remains shrouded in mystery even today. For years, the work done there was kept a closely guarded secret, and many of the individuals who played a pivotal role in breaking the Enigma code were not publicly recognized for their contributions until long after the war ended. The secrecy surrounding Bletchley Park has only fueled speculation. Could the Allies have been hiding more than just military secrets? Was there a covert agenda behind the intelligence that helped shape the post-war world order? The story of Bletchley Park is one of brilliant minds and incredible breakthroughs, but it's also a story of secrecy and strategic manipulation. While the Codebreakers' success is often celebrated as a key turning point in WWII, the questions surrounding the selective sharing of information remind us that wartime intelligence is never as straightforward as it seems. As we uncover more about the past, the true legacy of Bletchley Park's Codebreakers may be much more complex than we originally thought.